Yo, what's going on, guys? Jared here, freshly back from New York Comic Con, and when I was there, I actually played in the Attack of the Giant card, and I ended up getting third place with Centurion Fiendsmith. I actually originally wanted to play Centurion Bestial, but I do not have the Bestial cards currently, and none of my friends had them in the moment, so I had to come up with something last minute the night before, and I wanted to try out the Fiendsmith version. Now, you probably have seen the Fiendsmith version a couple of times, and there's a cool line where the Fiendsmith cards can lead into a Primera Primus to then do the full combo. I'm going to be straight out. I am not doing that. I am not playing the Resonator cards to be able to do that. The Fiendsmith cards are actually in there for more interruptions as your opponent turns and an M board piece rather than actually combo starters. So I kept the Fiendsmith package very small and concise because I didn't want to add anything extra bricks, right? So that was just my logic behind it. So if you're expecting that here, I'll tell you straight out, they are not in here. This is mostly pure Centur-Ion, which is a very small Fiendsmith core next to it, and they have some cool interactions still, even without the Resonator cards in them. And I'll get into that when I get into the profile. But yeah, so again, I got third place, so I actually end up getting a oversized Judgment Dragon, the same size as this engraver behind me. It has to be mailed, but I'm getting rid of it anyway. But that's besides the point. But yeah, but yeah, overall, I just wanted to go over the deck and just show you what I played and how it went. And yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into it. And if you enjoy, please subscribe. Okay, guys, so like I said, I got third place with Centurion Fiendsmith, and I'm just going to go over this pretty quickly. So I want to keep this as consistent as possible, and it plays very similar to pure Centurion. So 3 copies of Primera, 3 Trudea, 3 copies of Stand Up and Terraforming, 3 copies of Oath, and 1 copy of Prosperity. These are all the starters of the deck, right? This is the amount that I like. It was very consistent. I really wasn't missing more. I didn't feel like the Fiendsmith cards needed to be starters. They were just more as little extension pieces that could add extra layers of interruption in other places that is kind of annoying for your opponent to deal with, as well as good going second, because this deck struggles going second. So I wanted that to be in the deck. So this is the Centurion starters. For like the Centurion brick cards, was 1 copy of Phalanx, 1 Atchery, 1 Wake Up, and 1 Gargoyle. Again, these are cards I didn't want to draw. And I just wanted to have the lowest amount of bricks possible. Obviously, if you draw these, it's not like the end of the world, but I obviously do not want to draw them because they are just low impact, you could say. So these are the cards that, again, I just didn't want to see in my opening hand. For the Fiendsmith engine, very, very small. 2 copies of Engraver, 1 copy of Tract, 1 copy of Worry, and 1 copy of Lacrima of the Crimson Tears. This card is so good. I love this card so much. I can't stress how good this card is. I feel like this is what makes the Fiendsmith engine so good right now, especially in a deck like this with stand-up, because now, because of this existing, a lot of the times what I end up doing is I use the Fiendsmith engine and I set it up to go into Caesar, which may be surprising to some people because usually you do not make Caesar really anymore. You don't see a lot of people making it. But in this deck, the line ends you with a Caesar, but it also ends you with Lacrima and, and Requiem in the graveyard. So, on your opponent's turn, assuming you were hand-dropped a couple of times, and these are in the graveyard, you are able to use, like, a Centurion, or if you have, like, a floating body, or maybe you have a Bestial, you're able to use, on your opponent's turn, the Fiendsmith, the Lacrima in the graveyard to put herself back into the deck, put back, special summon back the Requiem effect to summon back Lacrima. Then you're able to synchro with, whatever you have. You could either use, the Phalanx with the, the Primera Primus in the graveyard. I did that once to be able to get into a 12 on my opponent's turn. That was pretty cool. You could also go with a Bestial or an Engraver to go into a Chaos Angel, or you can go, any a level 4 plus Lacrima, like the Atchery or the Trudea, to go into the Primera Primus. And don't forget that this is a pop when you summon it on your opponent's turn as well. It searches and then destroys a card on each. So, point is, the Lacrima's effect in Graveyard is extremely relevant in a deck where you can quick synchro on your opponent's turn, especially when your opponent's not expecting it, because sometimes if you're hand trapped on the Centurion cards, your end board can be affected and they might not think you're able to synchro on their turn, when in reality you're hiding an extra body in the graveyard through Lacrima, as well as extremely good follow-up with Engraver and Caesar. So just something I wanted to at least mention in this, because I cannot stress enough how good this card is overall. And I really didn't want any more Fiendsmith cards. The only thing I want on the Fiendsmith cards is to play a deck that plays more Fiendsmiths, because I just love these cards. I think they're so cool. But besides the point, my main thing I wanted with this deck was to play a lot of non-engine. I wanted a lot of hand traps in here because Atri and the Centurion Synchro drawing so many cards, whichever one, I forget the name, Legatia, to be able to draw, that stacks up very quickly, especially in grind games. So I wanted a lot of hand traps in here. So I played 3 copies of Ash, 3 copies of Veiler, 3 copies of Imperm. I know if I draw Imperm off Atri or that, you can't use it immediately, but this card is so high impact and drawing at a 6 card is fine. 2 copies of Mourner, Bestial packages, 1 Baldrake, 1 Magnemite, and 1 Druisworm, 2 copies of Nibiru, and 2 copies of Ghost Ogre. So again, I can't stress this enough. I wanted to be able to draw these cards off of Atri or Legatia, and then having more varieties of plays, again, with these cards, I think really, really worked in my favor. Having all these extra cute little things that you can do. I really enjoyed it. And the fact that the Fiendsmith engine can get to a level 4, as I've been telling people from the Infernal Night video, it really matters. Like, this being level 4 super matters. You're not locked in the 6s with Fiendsmith anymore. You now have level 4, and that changes the capacity of what they can do, especially now that level 4 can also be summoned on your opponent's turn. So that is it for the main deck. I believe it is 41 cards, so not bad overall. We're going to move on to the Stu Extra deck. So again, we'll do the Centurion cards first. Of course, one copy of Primus, because you need extra deck space. I know a lot of builds played 2, I know Pack played 2. I've never needed the second one, so this was completely fine for me. 2 copies of Legatia. The second one never came up for me again because I just didn't feel like I needed it. My games were either really quick or over very quickly, and I just didn't need extra copies of this, but, you know, it's fine. 1 copy of Auxilia. I never need a second copy, but again, honestly, I think it's arguably even cut this, but you got to get into a really grind game where you need it. Maybe if I wasn't playing Fiendsmith, maybe this second one would have came up because I had extra removal because of Engraver and Desiree, but yeah, I don't know. 1 copy of Crimson Dragon, of course, and then my Crimson Dragon targets are going to be the 2 Blazars. I cut down the 3rd one because I wanted to make room for the Fiendsmith cards, as opposed to where the Punk Engine was just going for full Centurion lines. This one you actually have other options, which I really, really liked, and I wanted to kind of lean into that a little bit more. For the Fiendsmith cards, 1 copy of Requiem, 1 sequence, and I am playing still, you know, Moon. I do play the Desiree, the Princess, because you need Princess to get her in the graveyard initially. The Caesar is the line I like going first. And then for the 2 flex cards, again, it was SP Little Knight and Chaos Angel. Again, Chaos Angel now comes up because of Engraver and, you know, Primera or Trudea, and again, you know, all those other variables. There's so many ways to make Chaos Angel in this deck. Bestials with Lacrima, like you could have no Centurions and still synchro for Chaos Angel and catch your opponent off guard. And the best part is, Engraver is a level 6 white monster, and the Bestials are level 6 dark monsters. So if you pair them with Atri, Primera, or Trudea, or Lacrima, you can very easily get a light dark Chaos Angel, which a lot of decks struggle with, which I think is pretty awesome. And of course, SP Little Knight just being SP Little Knight. But I think the big takeaway from this is I think the Fiendsmith cards are just very much overperformed. I will say one of my losses was to the Fire King Snake Eye Azamina deck. Yeah, that deck just has like every power card. It's insane. But the main thing that hurt was I had a Crimson Dragon and Auxilia on the field, and on my turn I had Crimson Dragon and the Auxilia in the end phase, trying to you know, make a Blazar Dragon. He used Dominus Purge on it, or Impulse, I forget which one it's called, the new one, to negate it, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. He draws for turn. Draw phase, again, I Crimson Dragon, because at least if I, you know, I have the setup for another 12, which would normally be another Blazar, but now it's going to be a Legatia, which is fine, still an interruption, I would just have 1 Blazar. Then he purges it again, and this one kills it, and I'm like, oh, that really sucks. Now, you know, my Blazar follow-up is, you know, essentially gone, and I'm just leaning on Centurion, like Legatias and the Fiendsmith cards. So unfortunately, yeah, that sucked. And then that deck, again, it's just so powerful. It's such a powerful deck. It plays very well into a lot of the Mulch armies. You get to play, again, Dominus, as well as the Snake Eye Azamina cards, which are just crazy cards in general. So yeah, that is it for the extra deck. And then for the side deck, very quickly, 3 copies of Perulia and 3 copies of Furaro. So finally got my playset. Honestly, these cards never came up. I never put them in, just like matchup reasons, and I just never needed them, so they never used them. 3 copies of Ghost Spell. I put this in versus Runic, but this is actually in here because I was expecting, you know, Runic stun decks, Labyrinth decks, like the cheesy type of decks for, you know, I figured just because it's Comic-Con, I figured people would be playing some cheesy strategies, and I think Bell could have fit in for those more roguey type strategies. And again, it did. I played Runic, so it worked out in my favor having it in here, as well as with the Cosmic Cyclones. Cosmic was good. Again, played Runic. It's nothing crazy. To be honest, I feel like my side deck didn't really shine. It was mostly the main deck that did most of the work. And last wave 3 going first Floodgates with Skill Drain, Anti-Spell, and Tikaboo. Tikaboo is just broken. I don't think this is like that much of a, this is an easy take. Anti-Spell, again, when you can protect these 2 cards with Auxilia, it feels kind of sickening that you can do that. It feels like pretty unfair, if I'm being honest. And then Skill Drain, I feel like is in here because once you make your board, you are able to pump out big synchros like No Tomorrow, and especially if you have Skill Drain plus Blazar, because Blazar banishes for cost, so you can just protect the Skill Drain with Blazars, and your opponent's never going to be able to combo because you have Blazar. You have Skill Drain, and then you have Blazar protecting it, so even if they can somehow get an out to this, it's protected crazy, especially if you do, the Primera, Trudea, or stand-up one card line that goes into Auxilia double Blazar, and then you follow it up with a Skill Drain. It doesn't matter that this is negated. This is just insane. Like, you have double Blazar Skill, you're not winning with that. So I think this is worth playing in Centurion, definitely. So yeah, that is the deck that I played. Again, pretty good. 3rd place, I'll take it. Not bad. Actually got prizing, so no complaints here. So overall, let me know what you guys think down below. I know this is a bit of a different take for the Centurion list, but again, I just don't think that you need that giant Fiendsmith engine that I see some people playing, especially when it adds more normal summons, especially like Worry and Lacrima, because I don't like, that's my biggest complaint with this deck, is that you have 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 normal summons, which I really don't like, and I'm trying to avoid it as much as I can. So yeah, let me know how you guys would think, maybe ways to fix it down below. I'm curious what your guys' opinions on this. But yeah, overall, hope you guys enjoyed, and subscribe if you did, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.